So with Howitt, we developed a model of where growth is driven by innovations that replace old technologies. So it's about to innovate, you need to provide incentives to entrepreneurs, and so they get monopoly rents, temporary monopoly rents for innovating. And but once they innovate, they fear new innovations that will replace them. So at the heart of the growth process, you have a contradiction. On the one hand, you need to give innovation rents to encourage innovation activities, but on the other hand, those rents ex post can be used to prevent subsequent innovations. And the whole thing is how to manage this contradiction. The growth through creative destruction is all about how you manage this contradiction, to incentivize prospective innovators and at the same time make sure that once they innovate, they will not use these rents and this wealth to prevent subsequent innovation. Without innovation, you don't have long-lasting growth. In history, growth really took off with the Industrial Revolution. It was all about the steam engine and about all the applications of steam engine to all the sectors of the economy. So growth started with what we call a new general purpose technology. Innovation is the key driver of growth, and that's why innovation is so important. And it's also the driver of green growth. Now many people talk about you want to reconcile growth and the environment. The only way is through greener innovations. I think what's important, I think we complemented each other because, growth through creative destruction, it's about growth viewed from the point of view of firms, of entrepreneurs. And so I had worked a lot on, I did my PhD on industrial organization and contract theory. So I had worked a lot on the micro. Peter Howitt was more coming from macro. He had done monetary theory, search theory. And so it was very important to combine my background in industrial organization and his background in macroeconomics and search theory and monetary theory. So that we combine the techniques from both to build up our model. It's always difficult for me to say I'm relevant. I think it was important because this new growth theory lent itself to new empirical work where you look at firm level data and you look at growth from the point of view of firms and markets. And so you talk about firm dynamics, about market structure, and now we can confront theory with data. And now so there's been a blossoming of empirical studies in growth which are exactly doing that. But that was made possible by this new approach, where growth is really viewed from the point of view of innovative entrepreneurs and which kind of business climate they face. And so the growth was totally renewed because before it used to be very macro and just macro and not micro. And now you have very much micro data to test growth theories. First, it's very important to invest in basic research. So very important to have a European Research Council and good universities and to have what we call the knowledge economy. That's very important. It's very important then to have the transition from basic research to more applied research, to have structures that make it possible to make the transition from basic research to more applied. It's very important to have a very competitive environment because we know competition fosters innovation. You innovate to escape competition. So it's very important to have competition, entry and exit because creative destruction is about entry and exit. So you need a competition policy. It's very important also to have flexible labor markets because you need to hire and lay off, but at the same time, you need labor market institutions that make sure that the revenues and social security and everything are secured. If individuals face the risk of being laid off or changing jobs very often, which is what economics of creative destruction is all about, you need to have labor market institutions like we call flex security or other institutions, generous unemployment insurance, that retraining systems that make sure that people can have revenue security and rebounds from one job to another. So you need to adapt the labor market to a world with creative destruction where people don't spend all their life in the same job, but they change jobs frequently during their lifetime. So so important to have a knowledge economy, competition policy, labor market policy, to also have financial systems very much geared towards equity financing, because when you want to finance very innovative projects, you need venture capital, you need private equity, you need business angels. So you need institutional investors. So that's also is a very important component of an innovative economy. I would say that those are important policies. Yeah, so it's very complete, as you said very accurately. I mean, COVID is a big demand shock and a supply shock. It's a big demand shock because there are a number of people, who had to delay consumption. We could not consume. Also, there are categories that just lost their income. So that was a big demand shock. And on the other hand, it was a big supply shock because people could not go and work, and so firms had to reduce production or close down. And that's a big supply shock. So you need to act both on the demand side and the supply side. On the demand side, it was very important to have generous unemployment benefits, to have poverty measures of anti-poverty measures to make sure that people to have what we call automatic stabilizers to maintain consumption. On the supply side, it's more difficult because governments face a trade-off between protecting firms, because you protect accumulated human capital, but also reallocating. Some firms or some activities will no longer be viable in the future, in the post-COVID world. So you have there a difficult trade-off between protecting and reallocating. On one hand, you need to make sure that jobs and firms that are viable are protected, but on the other hand, you have to make sure that if some firms are not viable, both the entrepreneur and the workers and the employees can be relocated towards other activities. And you have to make sure that this can happen through labor market policy, through appropriate, bankruptcy procedures, through appropriate government support. And so that's more the difficult part of the short run. You need to secure, but in the long run, you need to make sure that the accurate reallocation takes place. And that's a bit the difficulty that government face with COVID. Because COVID is all about creative destruction. COVID, there are activities that will no longer be viable post-COVID. So you have to manage creative destruction. COVID is all about creative destruction, actually.